very good morning. It's Ally Bally with you through until 2 o'clock, and now we're going to talk antiques. Brian Clement from McTeers, the auctioneers, joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, Ali.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Well, just, you're like the rest of us.
Yeah, we touch of man flu.
A wee touch of man flu, but that's the whole thing about man flu. We men continue. We work, don't we?
Absolutely.
We just don't, we're not like the women who just, go and sit down and rest in a wee corner.
I think you should be careful what you're saying.
I'm just landing you in it as well. So we're let's look. You've been busy with text being sent through to you again, which is great. But let's just go back and look at a couple of items that have probably surprised you that cropped up in the sale room. And I was looking at some things that you had on sale, and I'm sure I'm not going to get this correct, but it's a Chinese Hangulai cabinet.
That's almost the wood is Huang Guali.
Oh, right.
I think I got that correct.
Okay.
This was a Chinese collector's cabinet which came from a house in Glasgow. It was purchased in southern China by the gentleman's wife about 20 years ago. And she paid what he recalls. They didn't have a lot of money at that time. He thinks she paid about 100 Hong Kong dollars, which in our money is about £10 or so. And last week, internet bidding from China versus Hong Kong, southern China versus Hong Kong, saw this sell for a hammer price of £5,500. So we were a bit surprised. We'd estimated it to make about £100. But that's the beauty of the internet now. You can undervalue things and be confident that they are going to sell for what they're worth.
Right. When you've got a sale ongoing and you've got things on the internet like that, an internet sale, what happens with the language barrier? Because does everybody understand each other?
Well, China, it's very well known that the Chinese are looking to buy back their very best and very most desirable works of art. But there is a barrier there because we can't expect people in China to automatically know our language. So having the catalogues translated is what we do. We have it. We have the Asian works of art auction catalogues translated into Chinese, and that makes a huge difference. We've only started doing this through an association that we're founder members of, who are very strongly marketing towards China and making it very easy for the Chinese to bid. So they're not translating into every language, but China is the one where we're concentrating on, certainly for Asian works of art. And I don't think there's any doubt. Last week, the amount of competition from collectors in China was phenomenal.
You also had a Chinese silver 4-piece tea service, and again, you were looking there. You were estimating that between 800 and 1,000, £1,200, and that's brought more than you expected as well. Again, was that that market working well?
Very much so. Silver, now like gold, is something that's very desirable. It's helped along by the high value of the actual metal itself. But when it comes to certain types of Chinese, what we would call export silver, made for the European market in China in the early 20th century, tea services are something which the Chinese, again, are very keen to buy back. To put it into perspective, the actual silver value of this tea service was about £1,000 or so, which is what we based the estimate on. But it made £3,200. The really pleasing thing about that was this was in a box in a lady's house in the south side of Glasgow. It was destined to go to, I think, the charity shop or possibly jumbo sale. She had no consequence of just how much it was worth. So it was one of a few things that we picked out at the lady's house, and needless to say, she's delighted.
She's rather happy. Nice little Christmas present.
Absolutely.
And finally, at the moment, because we've spoken about bottles of whiskey before, a bottle of Black Bowmore 1964. That again brought a rather nice price.
Well, it did. Black Bowmore, to anyone who knows about collecting whiskey to even a small extent, knows that Black Bowmore, when it was bottled, it's 1964. That's when it's filled into the cask. Bottled in 1993. Now, in 1993, these were available to purchase for about £60 for a Black Bowmore. I might be a little bit wrong, to give or take £10 or so there, but certainly less than £100. They've been gradually creeping up in value over the past, I suppose, 15-20 years or so, and the highest price was paid last week at McTeers, and it was £2,800 for this particular Black Bowmore.
Amazing. £2,800, and you told me the other week there just to drink my whiskey. It wasn't worth that much. Yeah.
You should have bought a black bull.
Obviously, I got the wrong one. Yes, yes. Just a reminder: if you have an item, whether it be jewellery, silver, china, bottle of whiskey, furniture, or indeed a picture, take a photograph of it with your mobile phone and send it to 88600 and put "Value Ally" in the text message, and any other information you can as well. And Brian will value that for you free of charge. Okay, so if you'd like a valuation, and as I say, it could be just like that lady with her silver tea service there who was going to hand it into the charity shop and sold it last week for £3,200. So that number again is 88600, Value Ally. And we have had quite a few in over the last couple of weeks, so we'll come to them in a moment.
Ally Bally in the morning on Clyde 2.
And with me this morning is Brian Clements from McTeers the Auctioneers. Now, Brian, we've been looking at some items that have been sent in to you on the Value Ally text. 2 gold coins. Tell us about that, first of all.
Yeah, so the 2 gold coins, it's a little bit difficult to say for certain because I can't actually see the size of these coins in the image sent, but I'm assuming the one on the right-hand side of this picture to be a sovereign. It's in a gold mount. Sovereigns, if you go back 10 years or so, would be selling for £55, £60 or so. But again, driven on by the high value of gold, we're looking now probably somewhere £220, £250 for the sovereign. The coin beside it, I think, is an American $20 gold coin, and this again has probably quadrupled in value from 9-10 years ago to a value of somewhere between £600 and £800.
All right, so that's good then. And I see here the one that I'm looking at looks like, well, you've told me what it is because I said, what is that? And you said a Chinese snuff bottle. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a Chinese snuff bottle. During the Qing dynasty, which lasted for a couple of hundred years, smoking tobacco was actually deemed illegal in China. And however, the use of snuff was allowed because the Chinese considered snuff to be a remedy for common illnesses. So what the Chinese used to do was grind down tobacco and they would contain it or keep it in these little containers called snuff bottles. This one, which has been sent in from Davy from Haddington, it does seem to be a reproduction, I'm afraid. From the image, it looks to me as if it's been made probably 20-30 years ago or so, maybe even a little bit sooner. There's a few characteristics about it that do point to it being late 20th century rather than from the 18th or 19th century. So I'm afraid, Davy, the snuff bottle's worth about £10 or so.
All right. Well, it was worth it, Davy. Worth a try. What else have you had sent in?
Now, there's a rather nice picture of a little girl cuddling her little doll, I think, on the floor, and it's signed by an artist called Mabel Lucy Atwell, quite a well-known cartoonist as well. And if this is an original painting, you would be looking at somewhere approaching £600 to £800 or so, depending on the size. But ultimately, as I've said, it depends if it is an original painting. There's lots of prints of Mabel Lucy Atwell pictures out there, and I suspect that this may be a print. It's more likely to be, but if it is a painting, not far off, as I say, £600 to £800.
All right, and how would they know really? Just to, if it is an original, would it, what's the easiest way? I mean, it's apart from the canvas and things. But...
Well, there's a number of characteristics. This also could be on porcelain. She painted on porcelain as well as on paper. But you're looking really to get a magnifying glass to look for the little dots, effectively, the pixelation in a print, which would point to, to not being an original painting. Also, brush strokes. If you can see brush strokes, that's a good pointer. The best thing to do is try and get it into us or into an auction house, certainly local to you, that would be able to, or art gallery for that matter, that would be able to tell you exactly.
Okay. Anything else interesting that's come through?
Well, there was another bottle of whiskey worth mentioning about this one, Douglas Lane's Premier Barrel. This is a limited edition. It's worth mentioning this because not all bottles of whiskey, even limited editions, are worth £2,800, or for that matter, £6,500, which is what a Macallan sold for last week. This one is, as I say, the Douglas Lane Premier Barrel. edition of Kalila, which is spelled Caolila. Took me a while to figure that out, but this is worth only about £100 or so. We've sold a few of these over the past few years, and that's what they tend to average out at.
And you're talking about whiskey there. You've got an interesting sale coming up. Is it next week? Yes, the Gentleman's Library sale.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
It's a great auction. It's such a mixture of items of such a wide varied value. We've got bottles of wine worth a four-figure sum. We've got bottles of wine which I could afford for a two-figure sum. And along with that, we've got cognac. We have rare and collectible whiskey. We also have antiquarian books in the sale, the smoking related items. We have a humidor which we expect to make £15,000 in the sale. That's still got all its original cigars in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Everything from the original date of buying the humidor, it's all there.
Yeah, the gentleman who looked after it, humidors have, as you possibly know, Ali, a little container within them where you have to keep a special moisture,
Right.
which or a special liquid which keeps the cigars from drying out. So this has been wonderfully cared for, and it's just in absolute mint condition. It's still got its original cardboard outer box as well. It's a beautiful thing, but it is worth about £15,000.
Fantastic. Now, just talking about things that are worth it, Katie has been sitting, I know, in the office there waiting on you talking about her Paddington bear that she sent a photograph of.
Well, you know, sometimes we don't know just off the top of our head what items are worth when people inquire with us. We use a database like a lot of auction houses will do to see just what things are worth, and just to make absolutely sure, so that I wasn't under or overvaluing Katie's Paddington bear. I've found one which I think is almost exactly the same, and wait for this one sold for £35 in auction last year.
Well, I told her she wasn't going to get rich, but there you go, £35, Katie. But to you, it's worth a lot more, I'm quite sure. And yesterday in America, there was a Michael Jackson memorabilia sale, and one of his tour jackets sold for £240,000.
Yeah,
So I thought, you know, I should bring in my Michael Jackson tour jacket. What do you think?
I think the jacket's so cool. I think it's such a great jacket, and let's be frank about it. The one that sold yesterday for over $200,000 was the jacket that was actually worn on stage by Michael Jackson. It was autographed by him and was a unique object. There was no. It's a one-off. It's possible that Lady Gaga actually bought it. She bought 55 objects from that sale yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether she bought the jacket or not. But I'm afraid your jacket, Ali, is worth.
Hang on, before you say
okay.
any more there. I've worn the jacket on stage.
Okay, right. And it's probably worth about £50 to £80 or so. No, it's really.
That devalues it.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
It would have been worth a bit more had you not let that.
I'd not worn it. Yeah.
It's a really great jacket, but your jacket, I'm afraid, looks really cool.
It's a promotional jacket.
It's a
really,
promotional jacket, not a one-off.
Ah, well, there we go. You never bring me any good news. Tell me to drink my whiskey and just wear my jacket. That's basically it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Right. If you would like to value something, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it on the text, or you can do it on what it's worth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, if you haven't got a smartphone, possibly you have a computer. If you go into McTear's website, that's mctears.co.uk/value. On there's a facility called What's It Worth, where you can simply put in a description, your name, a description, your email address, upload a picture to us, and there is an option there also, so that we know it's come through the show. It will say Ally Bally Show on radio if you select that option, and I can talk about it next time I'm on.
Excellent. Right. Well, thank you very much indeed for popping in today. We've run right out of time. This week's sale, of course, on Friday. You've got the I've forgotten the name of
the
the
weekly interiors auction.
The interiors auction.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything up for grabs that you?
There's a lot of things in. The interiors auction is a great auction. It's I mean, again, it's some very low value items, £20 to £50 or so, up to often over £1,000. There's jewellery, there's ceramics, there's collectibles, there's books, there's furniture, pictures, just almost anything that you could find in a house. I did notice on the way out the office this morning that someone had brought in a little collection of vintage LPs, including a Beatles and an Elvis LP. So anyone out there interested in Elvis or the Beatles, they're up for grabs this Friday.
Excellent, Brian. Thank you very much indeed, and look forward to chatting to you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you again next time.
Thank you very much.
See you again next